Today's Portland's very own Cycle Path is having a custom bike show, which seemed like the perfect place to ask people about their bikes. Hey Amy, tell me about your bike.
So this is a 1986 Rosin. It was built for the Soviet team. This is original paint. Interesting configuration for a Rosin and for any bike, in fact, because the bars are mounted down here on the fork. Gussets, they packed them with Bondo back in the day, so we've got some cracking going on, which is really super typical for these bikes. And this one was found in St. Petersburg in some storage room in the back. I got it from the guy who collected it directly from the velodrome. And this particular bike has an interesting story in that when the UCI made it illegal for the bars to be mounted to the fork, a lot of the track racers, they just simply lobbed off the clamp there, and they just put a quill stem in there and continued to use them. So when I got this bike, it had been butchered. That you could see the clip was still there, but it was just sawn right through. And I just went up the street and had Ira Ryan rebuild the fork for me, and then I had Black Magic paint match it perfectly, and it's back on the road again as intended. So it's a pretty cool bike.
What is the deal with that wheel?
Called the Jumbo, and if you look at it head on, it's got the classic lintel shape to it, but it's extra bulbous right in the middle. I don't know, it's just one of their crazy ideas to gain aero points. I don't know. It was just one of the wacky things that happened in the 80s.
Hey Townsend.
Yeah.
Tell me about your bike.
So this is a Velo Orange Neutrino. A lot of people ask me if it's a folding bike. It is not a folding bike. It's just a mini Velo. It is about a year old. Dynamo up front that provides me some lighting. It's got wireless and it's wonderful. Got a little kickstand on there and some mountain bike gearing to get me up and down hills. It's just a fun knock around the neighborhood kind of bike.
And then what's this?
So that is a wheel stabilizer, because with the smaller wheel, you can get some flop in there a little bit. And if you just stabilize it a bit, particularly once I put the bag on there, I got a little bit of, just kind of, you would put it on the wheel stand and it would immediately flop. This keeps it from doing the flopping, and you don't notice it when you're steering. The resistance is so minimal. My knock around the neighborhood kind of bike, I love it.
I'm Chauncey, and this is my grandfather's bike. He gave it to me when I was in my late teens, 20s, like 1940 Schwin Paramount. Coolest thing about it is it has like this little teeny spring-loaded cap. In the bottom bracket, you would put a little light oil in there instead of grease to make you even faster. Yeah, wood rims, trying to keep it light.
Did your grandfather race this bike?
No, he was just using it as a way to stay fit. Just run it around Columbus, Ohio as a fixie back in, I know, 60s and 70s. No brakes or anything, just okay.
So we've got this GT Pursuit track bike here. Yeah, aluminum with a carbon fork. It's a 650C front wheel with a 700C rear. Clincher Spinergy through and through. Got the Surly fixer on the rear there. We got Easton bars and Easton seat posts, salsa stem, Chris King headset. We got the Sagino CHCD crankset, 110 BCD with the time attack pedals and a Zoomy super toughness chain. I believe this frame was potentially built by Time-Meyer, but I've heard some folks say it was also maybe built by Kinesis Frameworks or Anodizing Inc. here in Portland, just based on the tube set.
You ever feel like you're the only one that actually gets cycling? Like, not as a sport, but more as a way of life? You're not alone. In fact, we're everywhere. Like Fight Club with bikes. Fight Club? And with the help of the EBD Gear Shop, we can spot our people in the wild. It's like a secret handshake that only cyclists understand. Engage your core, visit the EBD Gear Shop, and be prepared for your new and better life. Because you never know when your next best riding companion will be standing next to you in line.
Hey Theo, hey, tell me about your bike.
It's a Destroy custom frame that they did for the Made Show. It's kind of a funky thing. It's like a Pursuit geometry, but with a like a cyclocross chainstay yoke in it, so it can fit fatties. Painted my wound up fork black. Looks like bedliner, the paint job. Black got a little bit of glitter in it. Triple triangle got a beat up Super Corsa seat on there. The handlebars, they're like maybe 680, feel really nice. Titanium wide boys, fill hubs laced to archetypes, but I've got them like spray painted and gaff taped so you can't see the logos or anything. Gaff taped the Thompson seat post, Sugino direct drive, Generation 1s with the ceramic bottom bracket, the Chris King headset, Paul stem, running like 26C up front, 35C in the back. Nice and meaty.
What's your gear ratio?
I think I'm running a 47-15. Yeah. Got a 16 tooth on the other side I couldn't get off.
What is this?
Okay, so this little power strip right here, I had to skid real hard to avoid catastrophe the other day, and it sprung up this little track of rubber. So I had to I was gonna keep riding that day, so I had to go home. What I did is I super glued it down and then Gorilla taped it to hold it in place, and now it's just part of the story.
How long has it been?
Maybe like a week. Yeah, easy.
How uncomfortable is this bike to ride?
I don't know if I could ride it anymore in this configuration. I don't think I'm quite flexy enough to ride it. It's my San Rancho. It was, I think, originally made for like the Olympics back in the 80s. It was originally owned by Phil Claude. He was my coach, and I got it, and I basically rode it for Pursuit and Kilo, and also for all kinds of events at Alpenrose. I eventually won the 6th day here at Alpenrose, so I was really happy. I had it all repainted and everything to what I wanted it to look like, and then I, of course, threw the chain once and chipped up the back a little bit, but that's the way it goes. If you're racing stuff, it's gonna get hurt sometimes. I used to usually use a 47-14. It's set up with a little bit bigger right now for like a Pursuit. It's like 100-inch right now.
What's the deal with the wheels?
They're spoked wheels, and then just you glue on like a film from like a model airplane kind of stuff, and then heat it up, and it makes it nice and rigid and makes a nice slippery light wheel. For the Pursuit, you want to have, you're kind of almost all alone on the track, and if there's no wind at all, then it'll be very slippery in the wind. But if there's any wind at all with a front disc, it's going to toss you all over the place, and it's basically unrideable, if it's any wind at all.
This is the Open Mind Made in California edition. This was done by Criterion Composites down in California, same company that did the Cervelo RCA. Highlights of this bike would be the Selly SOR Boost that was custom wrapped with Nike elephant print by Busyman in Australia. We've got a rear wheel laced with bird spokes to a DT180 hub. I've got disc rotor lock rings from Ogle Component Designs that are made out of titanium. We've got some very hard to get trick stuff brake calipers that are coming out of Germany. Also from Germany, Beast stem. Super lightweight bottle cages from Carbon Works out of Germany. Daramo handlebars from Spain. This is the Time X Pro 15 pedals. Lightest mainstream pedal on the market that I'm aware of. So the derailleur is an XX1 SRAM axis derailleur, but I've dressed it up with a Hop Carbon Parts carbon cover for the knuckle. We've got some ceramic speed pulley wheels, and then a super light XTR cassette here on the back. I don't like the shape of the old SRAM levers, so I've got Shimano brakes with SRAM shifting with my sort of modern day take on down tube shifters with the wireless blips hidden here under the flats.
What size tires you run?
32s, biggest it'll fit. We got E-Wings, one of the best titanium cranks on the market and always look great. And of course we've got to dress it up with the Arn chainring that set off the whole build. This bike weighs in at 14.5 pounds. Best bike I've ever ridden. That's some jewelry for my bike. I see a lot of people wearing chains these days on the rides, which I think is cool, but I like my bike more, so it needed some jewelry.
This is kind of heavy.
It is heavy. It is a substantial piece.
Oh, well, this is a Santana custom-made quad tandem. Kind of an interesting story. It was custom-made for a family. I guess they just didn't ride it a whole lot. First, he tried to sell it for less than half of what he paid for it, and then that didn't work, and then he halved that and halved that and halved that until finally it was free. And even because it was free, 3 different people had showed up to try to pick it up, and they couldn't take it home. You don't show up in a Mini Cooper to pick up a 4-person tandem. It is 128 inches from the tip of the fork to dropouts in the rear, and that is without wheels, of course. But me, I rode it home. People always ask me, how big is this brake rotor and who makes it? The answer is, it's extra large. I'm a vintage bike guy, and this is actually the most modern bike I own, and so I had to learn how to shift using the brake shifter combination, brifter as they say. I do have another tandem, a vintage Colnago, and I'm used to people saying, you know, if I'm riding it, they're saying, you lost your friend. But when I'm on this, I hear things like, you lost your whole family. It did come with Luke pedals, hence all the Luke stickers. Steel, it has a triple here, and I actually haven't counted. 10 in the back. It's got Dior XT, Thompson C-posts, Terry saddles, which I'm not that impressed with, but I want this bike to be as comfortable for everyone as possible, so I don't have clip-in pedals. I gotta say though, it's a hoot. They're doing some night construction on the Fremont Bridge, and I rode this with some friends down the backside towards Northwest Portland, and somebody had their Waze out so they could see how fast we were going. We hit 65 miles an hour.
Is it hard to ride with a group of people?
Yes, it is, and I'll tell you why. Because with every pedal stroke, you compensate with your body with the opposite arm. Now imagine that times 4 people. Riding it alone is honestly pretty darn easy, other than the fact that it's like an articulating bus. You go past the apex of the turn and then kind of come back. And as far as I can tell, leaning does nothing. More smiles to the miles is what I say on this. Your fearless host. You lost your whole family.
Whoa. This thing turns insane. This is by far the weirdest bike to turn I've ever ridden. Now, if you need even more deep bike dorkery, check out this video where I asked people about their bikes at Sea Otter. And boy, was that an experience. I'm going for it, I'm running it. I think I didn't want to say hi.